So in 2013, Frank and I packed up our kids and hit the road full time with 6 out of 7 of them. Our oldest said, "Love you, mean it, see ya, bye." But we didn't set out to do a big following. Honestly, we built a really small space, but that's not really what it's like anymore today. But Learn to RV is about so much more than just my story. And that's kind of the heart of the passion project that we call Learn to RV today. So you're at another community spotlight series. And today is our adventure. That's Amy and Mike Morris. And they have been on the road for a couple days now. Where did you launch from?
Oh, gracious. So we launched from Connecticut, kind of not really our timing.
Not
we
at all.
we had talked about wanting to go full-time RVing after my husband retired. He was in the Navy.
Mhm. Yeah, served for 20 years in the Navy, and our last major duty station was in Groton, Connecticut, and we had a sticks and bricks house that we had lived in for
13
13
years.
years.
Yeah.
Oh, Frank retired from the Marine Corps, and we bought a
Okay.
house in Joshua Tree, and he was out in 29 Palms at the schoolhouse, and we bought 6 horses over the course of those years, and we thought,
Oh,
"Oh, this was it," because nobody ever leaves 29 Palms once you get that as a duty station. He went in and saw the monitor, and he's like, "I have orders for you. This is not what I ever expected to be doing or how I expected to do it." I mean, I can relate so well to that.
yeah. I mean, so we knew that that was like the retirement plan, but
Mm.
2 years prior to him retiring, they said, "Well, we're sending you out to Washington State," which we'd been there before.
Yep.
They said, "It'll only be 6 months, and then you'll be on the first plane back." And we looked at each other and said, "Do we trust that?" And the answer
Right?
was no. So we said, "Okay, let's just go ahead and sell the house, sell everything, and move into the RV now," because we knew that the housing market was really bad in Washington anyway. It was hard, like, people were waiting 6 months to a year to get into housing. So we thought, "Let's bring our house with us. Let's go ahead and expedite the plan and get started." And so we went ahead and bought the RV, and that was our first that was our shakedown trip. Not really, but cross country from Connecticut to Washington State
And
in
what
the
time of
fall.
year was that? Because that's important when we're talking about this, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was in November. It
Yeah.
was in the fall, and at one point we had a snowstorm chasing us, and so that was kind of welcome to RV life.
Yeah.
And within the last 2 years, we moved from Connecticut to Washington, Washington back to Virginia briefly because he was deployed. My family was in Virginia, my mom was sick, so we decided instead of me staying in Washington, I was gonna go back to Virginia and stay with her. So he came back, brought the RV back with me. I stayed in Virginia while he and was deployed. And then he got back and we had to go back to Washington. So Virginia back to Washington. So we moved 4 times cross country in a year and a half. Yeah.
Wow.
So that
That's
was our
great.
welcome to RV life.
So you are newly retired, yes?
It's
Now it's been
been
2 years,
3
Okay,
years?
going on 3.
3,
okay,
Yeah.
3, yeah, 3
It
years.
yeah,
let me tell you, the time after retirement goes by so much faster than the time in, you know.
I do. So you guys chose a Brinkley, right?
Well,
Not
yes,
initially.
but that's not where we started.
Okay,
The all 4 cross country trips were not made in the Brinkley.
okay, that
No, they were made in our travel trailer.
We had some major issues with it, which is what ended up like,
Yeah.
why we ended up in the Brinkley, but we had quite a steep
I
learning curve. We had
I mean, my first rig was a travel trailer. It was one that, is doesn't even exist anymore. So
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think we all start somewhere, and I
yeah.
don't think many of us actually know enough at the time that we start to know to buy the rig that we wanted, as opposed to the rig that we could afford at the time or the rig that we
Oh,
were comfortable
absolutely.
enough in. And so I think we all start there. So I think that's a very common mistake.
Yeah.
What made you choose a Brinkley? I mean, I'm just curious because I actually own a Newmar fifth wheel, which they don't make those anymore. They only made them for 2 years. And so mine is a minted 2008, but we love it. So,
No,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what matters really. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say they're all different types for all different folks. I think for us, it was just the bad experience that we had. because and we did truly put it through the test driving back and forth across the country 4 times in a year and a half. But we had bent axles. We ended up with we call it our one episode called the breaking point. and, and it's literally
The tongue failed on it and it collapsed onto the road. And yeah, it was exciting because we also found out that the propane line runs underneath the tongue, and thankfully, when it bent, the propane line straightened out, so it didn't drag the propane line on
yeah,
the
but we were coming down the what is it? Or
Highway 101,
Highway 101
Pacific
and
Coast Highway.
beautiful, by the way, but we haven't been back because we we were a little traumatized. We had just started out in the morning and all of a sudden we went over like a construction area where there was a bump and we heard this horrific sound. Like the the trailer just bent at the tongue and we were dragging the trailer and metal on asphalt sound as we were just dragging it behind us and thankfully there was a park ranger behind us and he immediately turned on his lights and he looked at us and goes, did that just happen? And we're like, yeah, that just happened. And he's like, well, can you move it? And we're like it's like, "Oh, all I can do is drag it at this point." And he's like, well, there's a pull off about a quarter of a mile or so. It was a little further, but we were able to get off the road. But we had to literally drag the truck there, and then we were waiting for like 8 hours for a tow truck to come and to try to be able to help us move it to a campground just to be able to get it fixed. So that was a
Right.
very long day.
So I think the circle back to the question, I think we chose Brinkley because we did a lot of research, and it
Mm.
was during the whole it's not the correct term, but the frame flexing era of various RVs, and we did a lot of research on frames and found out that Brinkley's frames were unique in the industry, and they have much thicker frame walls and in structure than a lot of the other RVs, and that's really why we chose it because we didn't want to have it happen again.
Well, and when we were looking also, we were at a point where it was really for us, do we go back to making payments? Because, like you said, you buy the
Yeah.
rig that you can afford, and we bought what we could afford and what we felt like we were comfortable with. And so we're like, this is paid off. We have no payments. Do we go back to, I mean, that was a big decision for us. Do we go back to making payments, on a monthly basis? Is it that important? And ultimately, when we saw this particular layout, we have the Z3400 and it just it like checked every box that we were looking for and that and the quality as well. We were like, it sold us. I mean, we actually ended up purchasing it before we were even able to go on a walkthrough of this rig because they had just come out with it that year. So we were at the rally and the salesman was going, well, your dining set's gonna look kind of like this, and your bathrooms. Let's walk over here. Your bathroom's gonna look like this rig over here, and so we ended up buying it before we even got a chance to walk through one.
Well, Brinkley makes a good unit. If you've been in the industry long enough, you realize that if they're built on a Monday, sometimes they're better built than when they're built on a Friday. So it just depends on how you get the one or what it's been through, especially if
Oh
you
yeah.
end up buying used. Buying new is kind of the way to go. But then you still have gremlins because the schematics, Mike's in RV tech school right now, right? So, I mean, the schematics aren't the same for anything. Brinkley actually has more schematics than most brands out there today. Um, all right, so let's talk about the dogs because you have some pretty unique dogs on the road. Tell me about them.
Oh gracious. Well, I'll let you start. Riley and Morgan.
Right.
Yeah, we've had a couple different Dalmatians through the years, and we just lost our two senior dogs a couple year last year and the year before. But Riley, we just adopted about a year ago,
Year ago, yeah.
and Morgan, we just recently adopted, like literally weeks ago. So she's brand new to us. Both of them are from Dalmatian Rescue. They're Dalmatian.
Riley is 2 now? 3.
Just turned 3.
She's just turned 3, yeah, and then Morgan's 5.
Yeah,
So
and
when
they
we
are.
got dogs on the road, we got puppies because we were worried about that. How did that work with rescue dogs? Like, are they adapting well or is there a bigger transition?
I think Riley adapted really well. She loves to travel.
Yeah.
Morgan she's working on it.
Yeah, it's still
She's
all very new for her.
yeah.
But we've had a lot of experience not only with dogs in general, but with Dalmatians. We have like over 50 years of experience with Dalmatians. They are definitely a high energy breed. And what most people don't realize is they're the original RV dog. They were bred to run alongside the carriages and then stay in the carriages and protect them. So they are guard dogs, and you have to work on socialization and that sort of thing with them. But I actually come from a training background with dogs. I'm a certified canine counselor as well. I don't do that for a living, but I have done it in the past. And recall, working on recall and getting them to come when you call. Number one thing. Number two thing is always make sure that training them that an open door is not an invitation because they see an open door, and especially rescue dogs will tend to just charge right through it. But we practice with them and teach them that if a door is open, it doesn't mean you can go at it. If a gate is open, that doesn't mean you can go at it. You have to wait for us to say okay, before and give them the release word before they can go through it. And that's important because it can be scary sometimes. Things can happen quickly on the road.
For
Yeah,
sure.
we I say we found that, like, with our Z3400, the back deck, they love to sit out on the back deck, but
Oh
we've
yeah.
also found that people also love to approach Dalmatians, and we've had some, I don't wanna say close calls, but we've had to,
Well, just
remind people that
yeah.
they need a little bit of space, that they don't
Permission is
They're
important.
right, right. I mean, you're approaching what they consider to be their property, their house, and they're going to protect that. And so, but a lot of times people see Dalmatians and they think instantly like Disney character because that's where most people have seen them, and yeah, it's they are very friendly when we're out and about and that sort of thing. But if they're protecting their home, they're protecting their home. So it's like job on.
yeah, we've had
Well,
people, like, slam on their brakes when they see our dogs and,
Yeah.
like, "Can we pet
And
them?"
we were experienced that at a different level. We have my daughter's dog, um, but Millie is half bulldog, so Frenchie, and half pug, but she looks like a pug. Like she's got the curly tail, she's got the fur, she's got one floppy ear, one stands upright, but she
Mm,
is a bulldog through and through when it comes to her territory. And I never thought I'd have a dog that I would have to keep away from people, but we do. I mean, because, she's fine once she's introduced properly, but
right.
when people are coming, so permission is very important. And
Oh,
so we
yes,
have a
100%.
thing on our leash, please do not pet, but, you know, you can only do what you can do, enough warnings.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's a very common, issue also in the camping world, like, in the RV world, because I can't tell you how many people are like, "Oh, my dog's off leash, but don't worry, she's friendly," and I'm like, "But that's like the words the words of nightmares to me because it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter if the dog is friendly, if my dog's friendly, if your dog's friendly. If one dog is on a leash and one dog is not, the dog on the leash is always going to be protective of their space. It doesn't matter
Correct.
what breed, it doesn't matter how friendly they are. It's just a thing. It doesn't matter if they're big dog, little dog. They're going to be protective.
Well,
So,
and I don't
yeah,
think people know the nature of a Dalmatian is really, they were bred to be protective. Like that's what they were
right.
bred for. And if you go back to like history of the dog, I mean, are your Dalmatians deaf?
Yeah, so, Riley is deaf. She is I think we're not exactly sure, but we think like 90% deaf. And Kayla, our previous Dalmatian, was deaf in one ear. And we knew that because she's the only one we actually adopted like straight from a breeder. All the others we've done through rescue, and so we know that for a fact. And I've worked a lot with deaf dogs as well, and Riley definitely startles more easily, and she's more standoffish. So that's a thing. She wants more space because it's she's using those other senses to compensate. So she's much more sensitive to like people petting her and that sort of thing. But one thing I was gonna mention too is that, we did have which was kind of surprising to us, with all the experience we have of having Dalmatians and, working with Dalmatian rescues, we actually had, a situation where we were discriminated against because of being full-time RVers. and that was a huge shock to us, and I I never expected that, but when we went to adopt, we were looking for Riley. We didn't know that yet, but when we were looking for her,
Mhm.
um, we went through probably how many Dalmatians? Different rescues, like 3 or 4, no, more than that,
It's 4, I think.
different rescues, and as soon as they found out we were full-time RVers, sometimes they would just stop talking to us, like, just not respond anymore, and that was something that we were not expecting, and I don't know that a lot of people think about or talk about, in the RV world, but it's definitely something that you can face. So, we ended up finding a rescue that we worked with before that knew us and, knew that we could handle the lifestyle, and handle the dog in the lifestyle and provide them with a good life, and we were able to adopt that way, but it was a challenge.
It is harder adopting from rescues because I was looking for a Frenchie rescue initially, thinking that that would be the way we would go, and the reason we got puppies was because nobody would adopt to us. I don't think people realize how challenging it can be with some rescues, and I wish rescues looked at our lifestyle when we applied because we're home with them a lot. My
Right.
dogs are very rarely without us, and so, like, unless we're out for a day away, but we're not going to work somewhere else, we're with them most of the time. Even when we're gone, it's only a couple hours during the day. So unless we're at Hershey or Tampa. But then, one of the teenagers usually stays home in my house. So it's not like they don't have people here. But I don't think enough rescues know that about this lifestyle. And it would be a great episode to find some rescues that would advocate for full time RV life, especially because I think that's important.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I always had this in my mind. I had a vision of them thinking that a lot when they're not in the lifestyle, they think that people who are full-time RVers, it brings to mind trailer parks and, like rigs falling apart and things like that. And they think that that's kind of what the lifestyle is. And that's not what it is.
Well, and honestly, one of the reasons why we wanted to go full time was for our dogs because they were elderly, and we had when he was in the military, we try to travel. We've always loved to travel, but we tried to get people to come in and sit in the home, and we had so many problems even with that. Even though we'd vet them, even though we would, interview them and whatnot. Just getting them to come out consistently and provide the level of care that we needed. So we were like, let's just take them with us. Let's put our house on wheels and go places with the dogs, and that's why we got into full-time RV life, so we didn't have to worry about, will the hotel accept 2 large dogs, Is are we gonna have trouble finding a pet-friendly hotel or things like that, and so we love taking them wherever we can and working with them so that they have good manners when we go places, but just being with them and having them part of the life?
yeah, no, for sure. All right. So, what's something about this lifestyle that you would say is better than you ever expected it would be?
Better than we expected. Hmm. I guess maybe the flexibility of it. I'm very much a planner. And so it's hard for me because I'm typically still planning like 3 or 4 months out at least. Like that's a bare minimum for me. And one time recently, I guess it was last time we were in Florida, we were there to see the manatee, and we just did not have like a good. We got the tour. We did all the right things to go see the manatee, and didn't get the experience. And so my husband looks at me and goes, "Well, why don't we stay another couple days?" I'm like, "Because we've got plans. We've got reservations. We've got to go. We've got places we have to be." And he goes, "Why?" He's like, "Why don't we just stay for 3 or 4 more days?" And I was like, "Right."
Can we do that?
Right. And he, found us a spot, and we went and stayed for another couple days and had this amazing experience. And so that kind of opened our eyes a little bit too, especially me to like, I don't have to plan everything, everything doesn't have to follow the exact plan. And
Sometimes the beauty is in changing it. But I think that there's a lot of, real stuff that happens on the road that nobody warned you about. So what would you say is something that maybe, like, surprised you about this lifestyle?
For me, it definitely the level of maintenance required. was shocking. I've had when I was younger, my parents traveled. I've been to all 50 states prior to becoming a full-time RVer, and my parents had RVs, and we went all over the country, and you don't really realize, the fact, like, when you're the summer break, spring break kind of travelers, you put a lot of miles on your RV, but it's in such a short
Yeah.
window that you don't really notice that, like a fuel pump goes out, or you don't really notice the tires need to be changed. You just kind of do it and it's a thing. And then you wait till the next season when you go do it again. But when you're living on the road, it's just like, okay, well, where the previous travel trailer was, our joke was, well, what's going to break this travel day?
Yeah.
And,
And
you know,
I mean, it just you'd open up the RV and what was it? Was it molding popped off or was it, I mean, it just could be little things, but it was always something that had to be repaired. That's
Yeah.
true. I mean, and as an RV tech working on our rig and stuff as well, there were times like even today where he got a call for work and I said, "Did you decide to take that?" Or he's like, "No, I had to decline it because I haven't even gotten my own projects done and our time here is running out." He said, "If I get my own work done, maybe then I can start other people's work." But, just planning that.
yeah.
I think for me, it's probably the weather.
Mm,
I wasn't expecting like
mhm.
before, we never watch the weather. If the sun's out, the rain's out, whatever, but you have to be more in tune with it. And you can control it some based off of where you travel, but you just have to be more aware of it because it affects you so much more. Like I was thinking today, oh, I saw some rain clouds. I was like, oh, I hope it's not raining when we're doing the podcast because it's going to be really hard to hear us. you know,
Well, and it's little things like that that you don't think about. Like when you're in a house, you're not like, "Oh, my air conditioner is gonna be loud," or "The rain's gonna be loud on the roof." Like, that's not things you worry about.
no.
It's just a different level of life? So, if you have to name one thing that you struggle with today, not like all the time, but just what are some things you feel like this life misses out on? A lot of people miss community. I think that's a big one for a lot of people.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
what does it look like for you guys?
I think for us, it's not as much the community just because we came from military background, so we're used to moving a lot and that
Used to
wasn't
saying hello because your time at each duty station is a different lifestyle. And by the time you're 6 months in, if you've made 10 friends, you're doing good. So,
right. Oh, I was gonna say, and making friends quickly like that. I mean, I think that lifestyle sets you up very easily for this lifestyle.
Well, and as an RV tech, I meet a lot of people, so I spend some time usually getting to know them a little bit that I don't charge them for,
Just
you know,
chatting and getting to know people
chatting,
and
learning their story, learning what rigs they, have problems with, and, what whether they're full-timers, part-timers, most timers.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess for me, and this has affected you as well, but recently, just life events have been kind of difficult. So one of the people that we used to travel a lot with was my father, and he recently passed away. We ended up we were not voluntarily kind of in one spot for a while, and that was really kind of challenging for us. It was closer to family, which was good, but it was not by choice, and therefore, it was a little challenging being in one place. So I guess having life events that happen, and then also, I mean, I had some health issues as well, and I had to go and see, like, a doctor multiple times, and that's one thing that I found since we're not in one place anymore, it is challenging, and I know that's something people worry a lot about,
yep.
how do you get that level of care, and how do you get that consistency, and that can be challenging when you're in Texas this month and, Montana next month and, Virginia after that, and, I mean, that is a bit of a challenge,
Well, yeah, and in those situations pivoting is very important. So, like this past spring, we had a family thing. So we have 7 kids, and our boys all moved in together last year. and then they all moved out together. But that meant we had to go back to Texas and help them navigate that. And so our adult children became the people that we had to go back and help. So, I mean, it comes in all shapes and sizes. Um,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you make a good point. Like when my dad was traveling with us, it was again like he would say like, "Where are we going?" you know, and so at least he was, it was easy to get along with as far as like I made the plans and he's like, "I'll just show up." I was the planner for all of us, and here's where we're headed. But it was very different because for him it was vacation, and for us it was life. It made it much more clear that there is a big difference between the two, and the lifestyle and everything is very different, like, the attitude is different because for him, once he was at a place for, like, 3 or 4 days, he was ready to move on. He started to get itchy feet. He's like, "We've been here, we've done the things." I'm like, and at the time, I was working full time, Monday through Friday, so my only time to go out and explore stuff was on the weekends, and we like to stay places for at least a week so that I had the weekend to be able to go and enjoy stuff and also be able to relax. And he's like, "I'm ready to go on to the next thing." I'm like, "That's not the way we travel."
my
So
sweet spot is 2 weeks, so we have 1 full weekend wherever we are, just in case, and that gives us the ability to leave on Saturday if it's a longer drive day, so that we can have Saturday and Sunday to move. Now, we own the business, and we don't have to do it that way, but most of our installers are not gonna work on Sundays, so it works out well for us if we do that.
mm,
So, Mike, how did you get into RV tech stuff? Like, what was that transition like for you?
That was, it wasn't the transition itself was not difficult. I was in the Navy, I was a electronics technician, radioman, an IT, uh, what have you. I have a lot of different things that we worked on, in the ship that I was on, that I was responsible for. So the actual work itself, I already knew and experienced. But how I really got into it and transitioned to it was the travel trailer. It was
our
we
own project.
Yeah, it was after I would repair everything on it except for the tongue. We didn't repair that because 'cause I'm not a certified welder yet.
Yet, you
Yet.
notice
I
he
love
says
that
yet.
yet.
Um,
Not that he hasn't welded, he's just not a certified welder yet.
yeah, and then we got the Brinkley, and I'm like, "Whoo, I'm not gonna fix anything ever again."
Which, of course,
And
we knew wasn't true in the beginning. I mean, every rig has its
It's
issues.
still a rolling earthquake, no
Yep,
matter how
yep,
you slice it.
yep,
What
yeah.
would you say is the most common issue that you see RV owners run into that's totally preventable?
ooh,
Mm.
well, I would split that up between what people know is a problem and what people don't know is a problem. So, like, the most common issue I think I see on an RV that is 100% preventable is bent axles. I see them all the time. I like anytime basically I've looked under a rig that we'll say is in the ultralight class typically is what I
Yeah,
see it in.
yep.
They ain't ultralight. So they're not running in an ultralight configuration and they bent one of their axles and their tires are
You
wearing on
mean
the
as far
inside. They're overweight. That's what I'm
I
saying.
mean,
They're overweight.
he's trying
ultra
to politically correctly say they put too much in the RV.
right, well, ultralights are great little units if all you are is a weekend camper. Like,
Yeah.
that's what
Oh,
I
for
would
sure.
say, if you don't take half your house with you for 4 seasons, ultralights are a fantastic option, and usually
Oh, yeah.
they're pretty affordable. But
Right.
there is the caveat that you can't take every pot and pan from your house and
Mhm.
every canned good and every ounce of
No.
beer that you wanna take with you.
I
It's
mean,
very
that either.
important to know your limitations.
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you're in an ultralight, you're probably looking at groceries, and that's just it. Like in the United States, I don't think we live like this, but you're looking at more like buying groceries for 2 to 3 days max, as opposed to having groceries for a week,
Yeah.
and that's the way you have to think about it. Like
Yeah.
the same with like clothing, 2 or 3 days, and then doing laundry, because anything more than that, and you're definitely going to be overweight.
Yeah, and then I see a lot of people who they think that the weight distribution bars are magic, and they decide to they're like, "Well, I can put my extra water bladder and my bikes and everything, I'll put them in my truck can take so much more weight than my travel trailer can. And then they put weight distribution bars on and they don't really realize that they just shifted all of that weight to the trailer axis. I think that that's something that I never got called out for because of bent axis. It's typically something underneath the rig that I get called out for. And then I'm like, your tire's about to come off on that on one side of your rig, and you better.
If you see it, you'll tell them you've got a bent axle, but a lot of times they're like, "Oh, it's fine, whatever." I mean, that that was our mindset too until and it was fine until it wasn't, and when it's not and you're burning through a tire every 500 miles, you're like, "Oh, I've got a problem and I've got to fix it."
Right?
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, people don't realize how much goes into just maintaining. I think that would be the biggest thing. Uh,
Air
oh,
conditioners
yeah.
are 100% preventable, and people kill them because they don't ever have them cleaned. I never get a call to clean an air conditioner, and they really
Mhm.
should. They need to be cleaned at least once a year, and it is 100% preventable.
And the filters way more often than that. Like the
Mm,
inside
Oh,
filters, if
yeah.
you're running them regularly every couple weeks.
and don't
Yep.
back them into a tree. I've
Yeah.
seen that
That's or bridge.
too many
Yeah.
times.
So, ho do you think it's more affordable to live in an RV or less affordable?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because we actually so we typically do like a budget at the end of every year and kind of look at that and compare it to full-time life, like in sticks and bricks. And we're thinking about coming out with like a monthly video on this as well. I would say that it can be less expensive. That's a very big caveat though. It can be less expensive to be in an RV, but it's not living like vacation, you know? I mean, people think of full-time RV life and they think of like being at the resorts and, having the little drinks with the umbrellas and that sort of thing. And it's not that kind of lifestyle living full-time and saving money. That's vacationing. Not to say that we don't go to those places occasionally, but that's not the norm for us. I mean, we try to stay,
Mhm.
very inexpensive or free if we can at places. So it
I would say it depends greatly
it
on
yeah,
on you and on your lifestyle choices and how you choose to RV. Because
right.
if you're, a staycationer, I think it's who has like Thousand Trails, for example, you're probably going to spend a lot less than you would on a house.
But
Or
if you're staying at, like, the RV resorts, with the nice lazy rivers I do like those, luxuries, from time to time, but if you're doing that kind of lifestyle, it's definitely gonna be more expensive. And 2, one of the things that, we've been talking about recently is the RV tax, and what we would consider to be an additional, cost, and that's what we wanna highlight in like, moving forward in the monthly, video is highlighting what expenses we're paying just because we're living this life. Because there are some things that are exclusive to that. I mean, some things like streaming services, we had those before. Like we got rid of cable in our sticks and bricks. So streaming costs basically going to be the same whether it's in the sticks and bricks or not. Phone, you had a cell phone before. That's still going to be the same cost. But for example, prescription medicine because I had to go into CVS and pick it up as opposed to having it mailed to me because I'm not gonna have a mailing address in a week. I'm having to pay more for it.
Yeah.
That's a tax of living the RV life that I wouldn't have to, or because our dogs needed their, flea and tick medication, called up the vet and the vet says, "We stopped working with Chewy. You have to come in and pick up a written."
No.
And I said, "Well, we're not in the area." And they said, "Well, then you can buy it on our service online." And I'm like, "Well, how much more is it?" Because you know how much Chewy is. And it ends up being like, again, like $5, $6 more. It wasn't as bad as I thought, but that's
Right.
still more money I'm spending because
But
I'm
it
not,
adds up,
nope, yeah, I'm not able to
you
go
know?
into the vet's office and pick up the written prescription. So that's what
Sure.
we call
yeah.
the RV life tax.
So, is there any moment where the RV community showed up for the 2 of you in a way that you didn't expect?
Mm.
Oh,
Well, yeah, I mean the when we had the tongue collapse, we had a couple of occasions on that where several people randomly stopped by when they You have the looky-loos.
As we're stopped on the side of the road for 8 hours just sitting
Yeah.
there. That's what he's talking about. And
But
then
this one guy drove up, and he had a friend who was a mobile welder, and he stopped by randomly, and he's like, "Hey, I saw, I have an RV.
you need some help.
You need some help? I got a friend," and he called the guy on the side of the road and got us to come out, and he manufactured and welded a new tongue for us for
On
our
site.
RV on site.
And this was over, it was right before Thanksgiving. It was we were trying to get somewhere to before Thanksgiving, so he was out there in the cold every day working on it for us, trying to get us back on the road, so
Yeah, and then the RV park, in that same instance, the RV park normally didn't allow working on rigs, and we called them and we're like, "This is what happened," and they're like, "No problem,
yeah.
just bring your rig here, we'll figure it out, get your rig fixed." And
They stayed there late. It was because it was like 8:30, 9 o'clock before they even got the tow truck to us to get us the tow truck had to pull it into the spot for us. I mean, it was that messed up.
yeah, the
And
owner of the RV park helped direct the tow truck in, found the easiest site for him to put us in.
it was a horrible experience, but it was also a wonderful moment of that the feeling of community. And
Yeah,
two, we had someone who came by and said, "Hey, do you guys have a place to go?" And we were like, Have reservations further down." And they're like, "Well, here are the campgrounds in town. Here's the one I would recommend. Here are the ones I wouldn't recommend." That kind of thing. Called them up, and they again just we had so many different people who stopped and offered help and provided help during that time and got us back on the road. So that was really
yeah.
amazing.
I
Well, then the
love
one
it.
time when we bent our axle, we had another person, not in their RV, but they were in their car. They were also an RVer, and they said, "Hey, I didn't notice it because we just pulled into the gas station. They're like, 'Hey, your axle's bent.'" Like,
We were like, "What?"
wait, what?
And he
And
went back and checked, and sure enough, you could see it at
you
that
could see
point.
it. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was unfortunate situation too.
yeah. And they came
Yeah.
through it really well for us as well because we ended up having to get the axle manufactured, and so we ended up having to call this local person and that local person, and they ended up working together and ended up with a trailer down in Little Rock, Arkansas. Was it Trailers Plus?
I think so.
Shout out to
Axles
Axles
Plus
Plus. That's right.
and Vibey, yeah, they
Axles
made
Plus. And they knew someone who could manufacture it for us, and we had to get it manufactured somewhere else. I mean, we went and picked it up, and the paint was still wet on it. Like
Oh, wow.
they rushed it for us. They were doing inventory. They're like, "Well, we understand the situation," and again, they like came through and did it for us when they were in the middle of doing other stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, it's happened several times.
And that was all while we were PCSing and trying. We had 2 weeks to get
Yeah,
across the country, and
in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
I called up Dexter directly, and I was like, "Hey, I need an axle now." And
Didn't
they're
you say
like,
like 4 weeks?
"Yeah," they were like 3 weeks, and then I called Forest River, and they were like, "Yeah, 6 weeks from now to a month,
We're like,
maybe."
"We can't do that. We gotta be in
Like,
Washington State in, a week and a half."
Yep.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
getting stuff aftermarket sometimes is the way to go for sure.
Yep.
So, Mike, where can they find you if they're looking for an RV tech?
my RV repair business is Adventure Ready RV Repair. You can find me on rvhelp.com. You can just go to my website, adventurereadyrvrepair.com. Those are the main places to find me.
That's the main thing. If you see the sign out, then he's working. Everybody always says, "I don't wanna bother you on vacation." It's like, the sign's out, he's available to work.
Yep.
You might need
That's
to go put
fair.
your sign up.
And how about you guys? So, you guys have a social network. So, what does that look like for you? Because you're building. I actually build YouTube on purpose for years, and it's only this year we started building it. Even though we have a group of, well over 15,000 people, our YouTube is lacking. But, yours is not. Yours is better than
It's
mine.
oh. Well, we've been working hard on it. It's been a little bit of a challenge because, like I said, we've had some life experiences where we were just kind of sitting put for about 8 months, and so we've been away from it for a little while. But now we're back, and we're not quitting the RV life. So definitely got some fun adventures coming up. But today's our adventure is we're on Facebook, YouTube, Insta. Trying to build the Insta. I'm not so great at that, but
It's taken a little while, but you can usually find us just by typing in TIOA and hit enter. It took a while.
Yeah, a lot of places are finding us that way. But our typical schedule is on Sundays we do the vlog, and then on Thursdays we usually do like a campground review of different campgrounds we've been to. Since he's prior military, we do the fam camps, which don't get a lot of exposure. We do the fan camps. We do a lot of COA, Thousand Trails, KOA. So we do those, and then so a lot of people find us that way or through the vlogs that we drop on Sunday. Right now, we're not doing as much of the vlogs because he's in school, but as soon as he's, we're still putting out videos. So our Sunday one was actually the Brinkley factory tour. Um,
That's fun, though. I'll have to watch
yeah,
that one next.
it was not our normal style. It was just kind of raw and unfiltered. So, yeah, if you ever wanted to see what it was like, walking through the floor of the factory and seeing all the different components and how they take a rig through all the different stages of it, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
I found it very interesting.
We did that a couple of years ago with a brand up in Indiana. So we're walking through and they told us they put a roof on in 20 minutes and their goal was 20 to 22 minutes. And Frank stepped on my toes. I was like,
Oh,
and he's like, don't say a word. Don't say anything. And so we kept walking. But I now know that that's the industry goal for that particular brand. And that
Mhm.
does not make me feel good. But, it is what it is. So
Well, I was gonna say, I'll shout out to your husband and you for doing roofing on an RV because by far those are the absolute worst jobs I have ever done on an RV, where you nearly fall through somebody's roof to
fix a water
yeah,
leak
just
or
to
things
like
like
pulling
that. Or
up the dicor inch
yeah,
by inch.
yeah,
That's
those are the jobs
our
he
our
doesn't care
our
for.
standard install takes 3 days.
Yeah.
So it's not a light job for sure. So appreciate you.
Oh, thank
Thank you for
you. Thank you
letting
for
us
having me.
come into your home and be a part of your life today. This is kind of the heart behind Learn to RV is the people behind it. And so we just want to share people's stories and share where you're at. And if you're up for something next season and you're happen to be anywhere where we are, who knows?
Awesome.
I
Yeah,
mean, like there's always open opportunities. And so we love working with the creators that we've met. And so that's
appreciate
just part of Learn to RV. And the podcast is just kind of my pet project that it's pivoting right now, and we don't know what that looks like either. And
that.
so,
Oh,
yeah, so it's gonna be quite the adventure because everybody says we need to keep going. So here we are.
yeah, it's hard whenever you have big changes, but I think that you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, right? And then opportunities open themselves up, and you end up with new adventures to go on, and that's kind of our motto. That's where we came up with the today is our adventure because every day is an opportunity if you if you look at it that way.
Right. For sure. Do you have a bucket list?
No, we have an adventure list.
Oh, I love it.
We're marking some of those off this year. We're going. Last year we kind of wanted to finish up with the 50 states, and we got all 50 states in last year. And this
Oh,
year
you're
we're
we've never done all 50 states.
oh yeah, yeah. And so this year we're headed back to some of the ones we loved. As soon as he's done with school, we're actually headed back up to Montana. We're planning to do some Yellowstone later on this year. And
well, we can film it now too.
yeah, we're really excited about the fact that we can film it and share it with people because before we could only really do the pictures. So now it's going to be like hopefully a whole new experience.
Whole new level. Well, thanks, guys. I so appreciate your story and just being a part of it. So
Thank you.
we'll see you around the campfire.
Sounds good. Thanks. Bye.